7:29 now. He says that it could take years to recover from the recent flood.
Here to share an update on the recovery efforts, Mayor Todd Gloria. Thank you for coming by. I know that you're incredibly busy right now. Let's talk a little bit about the latest recovery efforts. We still are cleaning up from the last storm, and it's just more rain, more. I've thought so much about the people have already lost so much.
Yeah, we could use a break from Mother Nature. The White House called yesterday to understand how we were dealing with the most current rainstorm, and I really had to emphasize to them that it was really the storm on January 22nd that is continuing to occupy so much of our time, not just the recovery, but certainly the rebuilding and restating our plea for federal assistance through FEMA for those hundreds of property owners who are going to need to be helped over the next number of months and years.
And what is the latest on those recovery efforts? Because getting that support from the federal government, getting that money and getting FEMA in, we spoke with FEMA not too long ago. A lot of the folks we're talking to are like, yeah, but the city or the government isn't the one that's going to come in here and help me clean out all the stuff inside my house. And that's the part that seems to be overwhelming for people. Yeah. What do you say to them? What can they do?
Well, I do see them doing that, and the city's being assisted. We've removed 9,000 tons of debris from these impacted neighborhoods. This is city forces, city sanitation workers, city trash trucks. They're working with the community, and we've seen just an incredible outpouring of support from volunteers who've gone down to communities like Southcrest and Mount Hope and helping property owners remove that debris, put it on the curbside so that we can take it away. That's helping to make sure those areas don't reflood. One of the concerns that we've had is as people put that material out into the gutters and on the sidewalks and streets, that they could block water flow. Because we've been able to remove, again, those 9,000 tons of debris from that area, we have not seen that. At least today, we've seen some minor flooding in that area this morning, which we've been able to handle. There's more significant flooding elsewhere in the city that's generally to be expected in a rain event, maybe a little more than normal, but right now we're holding steady down there.
I was going to ask you about those areas given the amount of rain. So in those particular areas that we saw the flooding from the last storm, you haven't seen more flooding there? There's
been some minor flooding. We've had city crews there overnight pumping out water when we see it start to accumulate. So South 42nd, I got a call in the middle of the night about a little bit of ponding that was going on there. So we got crews on that right away. A little bit on Birch Street as well. The police chief's down there right now as we speak, giving me updates as I was walking onto the stage here. We'll continue to monitor it, but we still have the normal and significant flooding in places like Mission Valley, along Roselle Street in Sorrento Valley, and in the Tijuana River Valley. We get basically updates every 45 minutes to 2 hours with what we're seeing out there and trying to be as dynamic and responsive as possible in order to protect lives and property.
Having information is so critical. A lot of these folks, as we mentioned, that first day, 2 weeks, so it's like, what help? What do we do? It's just a feeling of helplessness. So talk to me about this initiative with Councilmember Moreno, because I think this is super important. It's about information, it's about resources, it's about going door to door so that people know essentially that they're not alone, people will be there to help you.
That's correct, and I appreciate you saying that. Last weekend we stood up a local assistance center at the Mount Hope Rec Center, and then what we had launched with Councilmember Moreno is going door to door in the impacted communities. We recognize some people lost their phones, some people don't have access to their homes any longer, and yet they're perhaps on site and trying to deal with things. City staff, my office, council members' offices, CERT teams of fire rescue cadets have been going door to door since January 22nd, but this is going to formalize this process, and we're going to do it on a daily basis, providing trusted information. We do know there are predatory realtors, contractors, attorneys who are contacting these family members who are trying to just clean up. But we want to give them trusted information and get them to the local assistance center so they can get registered. And so as we get more resources, hopefully from the federal government, that people will be in a good position to take advantage of that opportunity.
Yeah, those resources are definitely out there, but the challenge is making sure that people know where to find those resources. You're dealing with the results of that storm that hit us a few weeks ago, and now there's more rain. Chrissy's been talking about it, that it's going to intensify throughout the day. So what are your concerns now? What are you dealing with today?
Well, we're just making sure that we're as prepared as possible. I mean, hundreds of city employees deployed all across the city. This is part of our normal storm patrol efforts, and then we surge as necessary. Really what it is just monitoring the weather. I think we're all frustrated by the evolving forecasts. On January 22nd, the National Weather Service tweeted that it'd be light scattered rains across our city. Obviously, that wasn't the case. And so I'm erring on the side of caution. I'm deploying as much as we possibly can to make sure that we keep people as safe as possible. So we'll be monitoring this, and my ask of San Diegans is to follow the recommendations that we make. People did that largely yesterday, and we're in a much better position than we would have been otherwise. This is one of those things where when the road's closed, please don't go into it. People who do that invariably need to be rescued. That takes our limited public safety officers and professionals time away from other things that may be more urgent and more necessary. So please just follow the directions and allow us to do the work that we need to do.
Over the last 2 weeks, since January 22nd, your canvassers and all those folks going out there, are they being received in a different way than they were maybe in the first couple days, or is it now like a welcome sign of relief in a
Yeah, I was
way?
doing some of that work on Sunday, and the reaction is very positive. People, I think, have been able to process what's going on. Not everyone, some people are still processing, but I think a lot of folks are now sort of looking, how do I get back to where I was on January 21st? And that's exactly what we want to help them to do. And so as long as people need help, we're going to be out there making direct connections and trying to get them the help that they need.
I mean, even 2 weeks later, we keep seeing the videos that we're showing in the pictures, and it's hard to believe that that was San Diego. 2 weeks ago, that's San Diego. Now it's just unbelievable. A lot of work to be done, Mayor. We thank you for your time as always.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.